Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as we digest what has been a big day for Manchester United as Ten Hag starts to clear house ahead of what is expected to be Manchester United's biggest summer transfer window in a long time. We'll be talking about how Ten Hag wants to go further and why these announcements have been made today and will keep happening. We'll also be talking about the speed around transfers and how we could be getting some big developments around transfers sooner than you think. Lots to discuss. We'll be talking about the latest with the Jong and Timber, developments around those two especially, as well as updates on a left back, midfield, a striker, two strikers, and a few other things as well. So, how are we all doing? Let's fly straight into the show. But before we do that, you may well know, what is this? What is this? It's the Lawnmower 4.0, and that's the Weed Whacker. Why am I holding them up? Because today's show is sponsored by Manscaped. You can trim the grass and you can look bigger with Manscaped, who are trusted by 4 million men worldwide. Summer's coming and you need to be clear up down there, don't you? You don't want anything dangling out. Certainly you can do something about that with the Manscaped 4.0. As I said, 4 million men suffer, 4 million trust Manscaped worldwide, and you can keep the part in your pants looking crisp and refreshing all summer long. So dive headfirst into summer with our brilliant, fantastic code UNITEDSTAND, where you can get 20% off and free shipping worldwide. Inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, the Nose Trimmer, the Crop Preserver, Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Toner, Performance Box, briefs, and a travel bag. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to its advanced skin-safe technology. It's also got a 7,000 RPM motor. I'll turn that off. A new multifunctional on and off switch. It's got adjustable lengths for the trim that you want to achieve, and it's also got an LED light for a more precise shave. And did I mention it's also waterproof? Manscaped even throw in 2 free gifts to their performance package, the Manscaped boxes and the Shed travel bag that will bring your comfort to another level. And because Manscaped care about everyone who watches the United Stand, you can get 20% off plus free shipping worldwide when you use the code UNITEDSTAND at checkout, or you can use your phone, put the camera on and scan the QR code which is next to me. As I say, Manscaped, fantastic products. They've been a sponsor of ours for a while now. I use it all the time. Well, not all the time, because once you've used it once, you don't need to use it for a couple of weeks. But fantastic products. Check them out. They do deliver worldwide, and you can get 20% off plus free shipping. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Trust me, it works. Thanks everyone for watching. See you later. No. Thanks very much to Manscaped. Let's get on with the show. And we've got Conrad, Bradley, and Ashley and Daniel to say welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. Let's get straight into the show. So, what do you want to start off? It's an 8 o'clock show. It's always a bit more of a chilled out vibe than the morning show or the afternoon show. So, we're going to be talking about Ten Hag's clear out. Today, we've seen Pogba and Lingard leave Manchester United. Really good news. Really good news. I'm not holding this up against Pogba or Lingard at all. You know, I wish them all the best. I must admit, I do find it very, very quickly before we talk about Jong and Timber, I do find it really sad, some of the stuff that's coming out tonight. I thought the club's Pogba website story was way too long. I don't know why we had to go through War and Peace about what he's done. I've seen The Athletic putting a big article out about how Pogba was popular in the dressing room and spoke to Ronaldo and this, that and the other. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Why are we getting all this? He's gone. If you wanted to release good positive stories about Pogba, why didn't you do it over the last 3 years? Why are we doing it after he's gone? He's left. Does anybody actually care about stories about Paul Pogba? He's gone. He's not a Man United player anymore. And yet we're getting page after page, story after story about Paul Pogba and what a great guy he was and what he tried to do in the dressing room and how he was valued and this and that and the other. And I'm like, I don't care because he's gone. Maybe you should have put some of this stuff out before he went, and then maybe United fans, some of them might have been more open to him staying. But the reality is he's gone. Robin van Persie won us a title. They didn't even tweet it when he left. Didn't get any stories about him. It was get out. And now Paul Pogba never won us a title. It's like, oh, this and that. I just find it odd. I've just move them on. They're gone. They didn't want to sign a contract. Get them out and let's go. Because the message I like is the one that Ten Hag sent. Basically, I want these players out. I don't want... These players don't need to be announced that they're going until July the 1st. We've announced it on June the 1st, a month early. Do you know why we've done it? Do you know why Ten Hag's done it? Do you know why the club's done it? They've got them out because they don't want the circus. They don't want all of June. Is Pogba going to Juve? Is he going to Real Madrid? Is he going to PSG? Is Lingard going to Newcastle? Is he going to West Ham? Basically, we've gone, we don't care, and shut the door and turn away. And that's what United have done. And that's brilliant. And I don't know whose idea that is. I don't know whether it's Murta, Ten Hag, or whoever. But it's genius because we don't need... I was surprised today when they announced Pogba was going. And then I was told Lingard's going as well. I was like, this is brilliant. It's June the 1st. The transfer window's not even open. Their contract doesn't run out until the end of the month. And we've basically said, yeah, they're going, bye, slam the door and on to work. And this is a real indicator of what Ten Hag wants to do. He just wants to get on with the job. He knows he's got a limited time and he cannot have distractions. And I tell you what, it's a massive distraction when we haven't drawn a line below Pogba and everybody else and said, you're not part of the plans, get out. If you want to go and have a party about which club you're going to go to, you go and do it. It's got nothing to do with us. So, again, it's only a small little step. But just like getting Ten Hag, I applaud the club for the way they've acted around Lingard and Pogba today. Bye-bye. See you later. And I presume Cavani will be announced soon as well, because I think they're just going to spend this time getting these players out. And we need to go further. Phil Jones, Andres Pereira, Edison Cavani, Matic, Mata, Henderson, Wan-Bissaka, Martial. There's a lot more. And I'm hoping that this momentum can keep building. But yeah, they're gone. I don't want to read stories about them. I'm not interested in big stories about what their time at United was like and this, that and the other. They didn't win a title. They're not legends. They're just footballers. All the best. See you later. Bye-bye. Close the door. It doesn't need to be toxic. It doesn't need to be celebratory. It failed. We move on. That's what we need to do. Great to see the average age of the squad coming down with all these exits. We were looking like prime Bolton. Side note, Dublin meet-up back on, says PQ, need to sort that, definitely. Spot on Mark, says Lucas, so sick of social media FC spamming sentimental crap about two players that should have been moved on long ago. Let's look forward. And welcome to the Members Club, Yusuf. So look, this is what Ten Hag wants to do. There's a real momentum at the moment around Manchester United. They are obsessed because, you know what? Ten Hag is an obsessive character. They are obsessed with getting things done. I applaud with them for what they've done today. I personally knew Pogba was going. With Lingard, I think it was logical that he was going to go, but there was always part of me thinking, oh, he's going to sign a new deal or something like that. So you know what? If you want to write articles, if you want to write tweets and everything like that, crack on. I'm not mentioning Pogba or Lingard again. They've finished, they've gone, goodbye, good luck, see you later. Your legacy is no better. I mean, look, to be honest with you, there are players like Quinton Fortune who've got a better legacy at Manchester United because they actually won things, didn't they? So, look, we move on. That's what Manchester United do. Nobody's bigger than the club. Bye-bye. Demba, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. So, let's talk about positives. And you know what? Ultimately, what we're doing now is we're talking about exits and entries. So, sounds wrong. But you know, we definitely are. So where are we on De Jong and Timber? Because it's interesting that, look, I don't know, this has not been verified yet, but there is an indication that the way United have acted today with Pogba and Lingard going, they could act like that with players coming in. So what I was told today is, take it as a warning as to how Man United might work this summer. You might see things like Pogba, bye-bye. 3 hours later, Lingard, bye-bye. Tomorrow, Cavani, bye-bye. The day after, Timber, hello. You know, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Don't say we're going to sign him on Saturday. But I think that where we are with Timber and where we are with De Jong is that we are putting a lot of work in with Ajax and Barcelona. Forget what Timber says. Forget what De Jong says. De Jong is on Dutch duty, wants to stay at Barcelona. Timber's on Dutch duty, wants to get on holiday and make his mind up. But ultimately, we've got to agree deals with Barcelona and we've got to agree deals with Ajax. And that's where we're at the moment. And those bids, official bids, could well leak. They could well leak. And people will say, well, I thought we've been talking to Ajax for a while. We have. We've been negotiating. And the way a transfer works is you don't just ring up and go, we're putting a bid in of 35 million for Timber. Ring us back with your answer. You don't. You have conversations about lots of different things, negotiations, you know, this, that and the other. And there will be an official bid going in at some point for both of those players. Whether they're expected or not, I don't know. Like Beth said this afternoon, Romano mentioned it. A few people are mentioning around £80 million for De Jong. I think on De Jong first, because I've got a bit of an update on Timber. I think with De Jong first, I would say this. United know they've got to move fast on that. If Man United were to buy a player from the US, who would you want? Says Michael. Can I come back to that, Michael? I mean, it's a bit of a question later in the show rather than right in the middle of some transfer news. Mark, please sing this. If Timber signs, I'm going down. I'm yelling Timber by Pitbull, just like you did with Merry Christmas. That was amazing, says Slow Sports News. Rumours on Lewandowski valid? I don't think so. How about Pulisic? Worth a look. Might be just happy to find it. Time at a big club. Love your work from USA, says Society. Well, that answers the previous question. I would take Pulisic at Manchester United, although he's a bit injury prone. I would love Manchester United to go for Pulisic. Steve, welcome to the members club. I don't believe we're in for Lewandowski. It makes absolutely no sense. I've never heard that we're in for Lewandowski. Why would you buy a 34-year-old striker when you've got a 37-year-old striker who is also, they're two of the best in the world? How does that even work? Oh, who's going to play in the bloody Europa League? So I can't see that. Unless Ronaldo suddenly shocks us and leaves, we're not going for Lewandowski. But with regards to De Jong, United need to act quickly. This is the message I got today around De Jong, is that United are trying to get this done quickly. Not necessarily De Jong official deal in the next week or so, because he is with on Dutch national duty. He won't be doing the official bit until after that. Maybe not till after he's been on holiday. But we know that Man United can announce a deal pending a medical. We did it with Lindelof. We've done it with other players as well. So we can do that. But the reason United know they need to act quickly is for two reasons. One, the longer this goes on, the more other clubs might look at it and go, well, I fancy a bit of that. Even today, we've had Arsenal linked to De Jong. Now, I mean, never say never. I mean, God, you never say never. But I can't understand for the life of me why De Jong would choose Arsenal over Manchester United when we're both in the Europa League. So Arsenal can be interested all they like. I'd be stuck. I mean, imagine how embarrassing that would be for Ten Hag if De Jong chose Arsenal and Arteta over him at Man United. So I'm not worried about Arsenal. What I might be worried about is a PSG or a Bayern Munich. Not a Bayern Munich no more, because I think they're going for other people, but PSG want Tchouaméni, Real Madrid want Tchouaméni, and if PSG miss out on Tchouaméni, which is expected, maybe they go for De Jong because they want to go for something big. So Man United need to act quickly, because ultimately, if other clubs get involved, we could miss out. We haven't got Champions League football. And the other reason we need to act very quickly as well is because Barcelona are desperate for money. And whilst they're trying to sort... It's all right saying if they get this finance package, they won't need to sell De Jong, but they're not going to find out about that finance package for a couple of weeks. If United go, there's 70 million, then Barcelona know they've got 70 million where they can just take it and then they can get Lewandowski. So I think United need to move quickly with De Jong, otherwise they'll probably miss out. What I would say about De Jong, you've got to be a certain age to remember this, because we're talking probably 8-9 years ago. The De Jong transfer reminds me a lot of Fabregas under David Moyes. We were really sold a story that we were going to... Was it David Moyes or was it Van Gaal? I think it was David Moyes. Anyway, for about a month, there was a Fabregas story that you didn't think could happen, and then it didn't happen. But for 3 or 4 weeks, you really thought it was going to happen, even though it was unbelievable, because Fabregas basically played us. He was on about Barcelona wouldn't give him the money he wanted, and we really thought he was going to come to Manchester United. And I just feel that this De Jong deal is a little bit like that. Although it's very different, it's not De Jong playing us, it's the club. I do worry that ultimately we'll get played and end up with nothing. But I still remain 75% sure at the moment, because there's no smoke without fire, and Barcelona are definitely flirting with us. So you know what? If they are flirting, time to ask them for a dance. And if they like the dance, stick a ring on it, and let's get this deal done. Nunez and De Jong are wrong signings. Erik Ten Hag plays with a CDM in a 2. Who's De Jong going to play with? We all make him do both, like McTominay. Wrong, says David Miller. Yeah, David. I mean, with all due respect, you're telling Erik Ten Hag he's wrong to buy Frenkie De Jong, a player that he's managed before and a manager that knows how he wants to play. I think I'd bow down to what Erik Ten Hag wants to do in building his own 11, to be fair. Would Kakare and Ibrahim Sangar be viable alternatives if the De Jong deal falls through? So Stephen, I mean, they are viable alternatives. We've not been linked to them. Mark, looks like Ekitike is going to Newcastle. He's a real gem of a player, says Clayton. And Drew Dempster, welcome to the Members Club. You're right. You're absolutely right about Ekitike. I was going to mention that. Can you confirm the Asensio deal? Says Junior. No. And just purchased a package on Manscaped. Thanks, Mark, says Ruben. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I don't want to really picture you using it, but you will enjoy it. Big up Manscaped. Erik ten Hag really needs to work wonders with De Jong and reassure him about dressing room and rest. Who would want to work in that environment, says Grumpy. Well, you know what? In relation to Ekitike, before I talk about Timber, I've sort of been pushed into something. We were told a couple of days ago that Manchester United had held talks with Ekitike. Man United are holding talks with a lot of people. Luckhurst this morning was talking about David Carmo from Braga. We know about Torres, we know about Neves, we know about Nunez, we know about De Jong, we know about Timber. Manchester United are in more talks than bloody Richard and Judy. That doesn't work anymore. Philip and Fern, you know, but a talk show host, basically. We're in a lot of talks, and I should have thought that one through better. But we are in a lot of talks with a lot of players. Doesn't mean we're going to buy them. Doesn't mean we're going to buy them. So Ekitike was a player that United are interested in. It's very much like the Feyenoord left back that Beth was on about today. Is it Malacia? Something like that. United are in talks with him, but somebody else was in talks with him before us, and they're a French club. So that may be way more advanced than us. And also with the left back situation, essentially, Ten Hag likes this lad at Feyenoord, but is he going to wait? This happened with Tielemans a couple of years ago when he went to Leicester. United were interested, but he didn't want to wait, so he went to Leicester. Some players just want to get their future sorted. So we may well miss out on the left back, even though Ten Hag really likes him. We have had talks with Ekitike, but Newcastle are going to be... I mean, you know, I'm going to talk about this with Timber in a minute. United don't want to overpay, and this is the problem they're going to have. If Man United want Ekitike, but Newcastle go in and say there's 40 million, United will walk. Because Man United like him, but they want him for about 25. They don't want to spend 40. Newcastle will spend silly money because they're a billionaire club now. So what are you supposed to do? Effectively, United do like him. Doesn't mean we were ever going to sign him, but we do like him, and talks have taken place. But I wouldn't spend 40 million on him. Like, he's in a breakout season at Reims in the French league. You can't spend 40 million on him. And Newcastle can spend 40 million on him because if he flops, it's just 40 million, isn't it? It's just money to them. But for Man United, 40 million in a rebuild, you've got to get it right. Contracts need to outline if a player drops below the standards they were signed at, then so does their pay. I'm not sure human rights would have anything to do with that, Shane Kyloons. I think, employment law as well. Nick White, welcome to Members Club. And hi, Mark. Based on how Ten Hag played at Ajax and what he said, Pep underestimating the physicality of the league, do we expect a defensive-minded CM, says Carl Walsh. Well, I disagree with this. I know I've been talking about this for a long time, even before Erik ten Hag came in. I disagree with this whole centre defensive midfielder obsession. Like, I don't think Ten Hag's going to play with a centre defensive midfielder who sits back. I mean, it's contradictory to the way he plays. He plays with a high line. So if you imagine the role Matic wants to play, if we played a high line under Erik ten Hag, Matic would be 20 metres behind the high line looking for the ball and going, I'm confused, my defence. So we want to play a high line, but then people are talking about a CDM who's going to drop in between the centre-backs. It's not going to work. We're going to play with a midfield two. And one of them may be more defensive-minded, but he's still going to play in a midfield two. And you're almost going to have a symmetry where the left-sided one has responsibility for the left and the right-hand side has the responsibility for the right. And they work with the centre-back on that and the full-back on that. So I think we'll play a two. I don't see us buying a Declan Rice or anything like that. If you bought... Look, we're not going to buy Neves and De Jong, I don't think. But we may buy De Jong and that's it. In which case you're going to see De Jong playing with Fred or McTominay, maybe Donny. Erik ten Hag showing who's the boss. Really love the bold decisions being taken to set a statement that he means business and is not to be taken lightly. That was from Adadiar. And, I think, again, I would reiterate that this has been a really good day for Manchester United because ultimately we've had two big departures. We knew they were going to go, but I just love the fact that the club, and I think I said this in one of the videos, maybe the Pogba video, I love the fact that the club have took control of the situation. Like, it's really unlike United what's happened. I don't like the big War and Peace articles about thank you, Jesse, thank you, Paul, you did this, you did that, you went to the toilet, you know. It's just too much information. It should be thank you very much for being a Man United player, goodbye. That's basically what we should have done. So fair play to the club for being very respectful. But the reality is, the Man United I know would bury their head in the sand, embarrassed that they're losing Pogba for nothing again, and basically just let it drift all the way to the end of the month, and then on July the 1st, just do a tweet saying Pogba's left. But they haven't. They've done it a month early. They've owned it. They've owned the mistake. They've said thank you very much. They've tried to, you know, almost polish a bad situation effectively by saying, you know, we've had a good time together. I don't think that's the truth, but does it really matter? And they've took control of it really early. And the reason they've done that is because of what you just said there. Ten Hag, Man United, they want to get on. They want to get on with the new world. And to do that, you've got to make brave, decisive, controlling decisions. I think United are so bad at communicating. They're so bad at making big decisions. And ultimately, I know they're only little decisions, but Pogba and Lingard today, they're big decisions. Because ultimately, when we hit July the 1st, I think United want to be talking about signings. They don't want to be releasing statements about players leaving. So I think it's very, very good what they've done. On July the 1st, when Pogba and Lingard are officially free, we won't be saying anything as a club because we've moved on already. So, I mean, I'd be interested to know what Pogba and Lingard think about it because they've basically had their time today and now you're gone a month early. No one gives a shit now. So I think the club have handled it well. I think Ten Hag's got a lot to do with that, and I think it's about clearing house and moving on. Hi Mark, just tuning in. What's the latest update on De Jong? Have we put a bid in? Says Vikrant. The latest I've got on De Jong and Timber is that potentially these bids could be going in the next couple of days, next few days. I suppose if we do that, they will get leaked. You've almost got to get your head back into what it's like to be involved in a transfer saga again, haven't you? Because it's certainly not bid goes in, official deal, and all that bullshit. So I think, to be honest, between the two, the one that's got the more urgency is De Jong, because there is a time limit on De Jong. There is a deadline with De Jong. We spoke about this last week, actually being today. So maybe that coincides. United don't want to be in a long, drawn-out saga with De Jong. We can't afford to be in that situation. I mentioned Fabregas. We've had it with other players before. We can't be led up the garden path and have the door slammed in our face. We've got to go very quickly up that garden path, take what we want and go. Legitimately, we can't be stealing. So I think that's what United are trying to do. And I think with De Jong, we need to get to the bottom of that very, very quickly. And maybe we will do that. Want to say thank you to you, because if it wasn't for you, I would have with football. And any chance you're doing a Scotland watch along? Nope. How can I do a Scotland watch along? I'm live, Daniel. Could try Garner at centre back. Oh God, Dave. And why would De Jong come to us if he has to play alongside one of McFred? Could be a sticking point. Says Graham Barber. Yeah, you know, you might be joking with that, Graham, but you know he may well look at things like that. So yeah, I think with De Jong, let's see what happens over the next sort of 24 hours to the next 2 or 3 days. Let's see. You know, I think when Fabrizio starts talking about prices and anticipated bids, I think Fabrizio's transitioned a bit. You know, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I said this to him on the show the other day. 2 or 3 years ago, I think Fabrizio was a little bit more, you know, speculative. Like he'd talk about a deal that, you know, right in the early days, and I think now he's so popular and so respected that he can't get it wrong. So he becomes a little bit more of a sort of Simon Stone, not like a Simon Stone, but when he says something, you can pretty much take it to the bank with Romano. So I think when he's saying that the price has been set by Barcelona and a bid is anticipated and United are in talks with Barcelona, you can take that to the bank. And remember, a couple of weeks ago when that Gerard Romero was saying, you know, 95% and all this, people were like, what the bloody hell is he on about with De Jong? So I think, you know, with De Jong, I think we will get some developments over the next day or week or whatever. I don't think it's going to go any longer than that because I think United know they've got to move quick. Could we see a partnership of Donny van der Beek, Bruno and De Jong, says Tale? Not at Anfield, not at the Etihad. You'd have to be a little bit more defensive minded in that, but I certainly think you could see it in a game at Old Trafford against you know, a large proportion of the league, but we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, De Jong, I expect a bit of speed. On Timber, situation with Timber, look, I did a bit of a tongue-in-cheek tweet with me as a pirate on at Mark Goldbridge before I went live, and I mean, I'm not 90% on Timber. I mean, I can be 90% if you want me to. I'm not scared to be 90% club. I'm not scared to bring 90. Should we bring 90% club back? I mean, if you want me to be 90% club on Timber, I will do. I'll be driven by the chat. I've been 80% for the last couple of weeks, and I'm very happy to be 80%. So what's another 10%? I'm not bothered. But with Timber, the only thing that could ruin this deal is this line. We won't overpay. That's the only thing that will knock this deal over, because Timber wants to come to United. Ten Hag really wants Timber because he knows everything about him and he knows he's only going to get better at 20. And the only thing that the problem is the price. Ajax will sell. Ajax will sell. They will definitely sell. They'll get to a point where Ajax will just go, look, we'll sell. But will Manchester United walk away? If the price is too much, will they walk away? That's the only fee here. I was literally speaking to somebody about this half an hour ago, and we were having this conversation, and they were saying, look, the only fear here is that Ajax ask for too much money and United follow through with, we're not going to overpay, and they go for another target, because there are other options. There is Pau Torres, there is Carmo, and what if Ajax try and price United out? Which isn't really Ajax's way, but I'm very confident this deal will happen. United have done that in the past. There's a few deals that come to mind. Perisic, we were literally £5 million short. They wanted 45. We didn't want to pay 45. We wanted to pay 40, and we walked. And that was in the Mourinho era. So United can walk away from deals, even though it's what the manager wants. But I think in Timber's first summer as a new manager, when he says he wants that player, you can't go all that way and then go, no, we're not going to do the deal because we don't want to pay that much money. So I think it will happen, but that would be the only reason I'm not 100% sure. PSG are looking to sell Ander Herrera this summer. He's probably cost $5 million and can do a job whilst we prioritise other positions. Would you take him back? Ooh. Mason Reed. Would I take Ander Herrera back? No. Oh, controversial. I wouldn't. And I wouldn't take Ander Herrera back for the same reason most of you wouldn't take Kante. Ander Herrera is the same age as Kante. He might even be a bit older. No, 90% club, we want it to happen, says Sean from Ireland. That's absolutely fair. I was waiting for somebody to say that. Ander Herrera is around the same age as Kante, and Kante's better. Now, there was an article in the Telegraph today, I think Beth mentioned it this afternoon, saying that Manchester United have removed, withdrawn their interest in relation to Kante, because there's been a discussion in the club that he doesn't actually fit the profile of what United need. Kante, coming towards the end of his career, a bit injury prone, expensive wages. Yes, he's a very good player, but does he really serve the purpose? Remember, we're not even going to be in the Champions League next year. So why would you back away from Kante to go and get Ander Herrera, who can't really offer you anything? If Ander Herrera was 27, I mean, we never should have let Herrera go in the first place. I think we'd have had a different time. So no, it would be a no for me for Ander Herrera, really, if I'm absolutely honest. But everyone's going to have a different opinion. Yes. So look, very, very encouraged with what Manchester United have done today. Very much going to take this transfer window with a pinch of salt. I'm going to basically do what Ten Hag said in his interview. I'm going to take it a game at a time and try and win every game. And I think with Man United's transfer window, I'm going to take it a day at a time. And I think today was a win. I think removing Pogba and Lingard in the way that the club did, early, decisively, in the same day, very good. Very, very good. We know they're gone now. We know that's 450 grand a week United are going to get back from July the 1st in wages. So £500,000 a week, basically. And we know Cavani's going to go, so that's 650 grand a week. And then Matic and Mata, it's nearly £1 million a week in wages from July the 1st. So very decisive, very, very, very aggressive. I've always said this, and if you're an older viewer of the United Stand, you'll know this. You've got to be aggressive in the transfer window, and you've got to be ruthless. The aggression and ruthlessness in trying to buy somebody means speed, it means brave, it means get to the conclusion, whether it's the right conclusion or the wrong conclusion. Just get to the answer as quick as possible. And I think with De Jong, you've got to be aggressive in that deal with Barcelona. You've got to go in, you've got to put an offer in, and if they say no, you go buy. And what I mean by that is, if Barcelona want 80 million euro for De Jong, you put an offer in of 70 million euro, and they say no, and you go, that's the offer, see you later. You've got to be aggressive and ruthless. And in relation to people being shown the door, you've got to be ruthless. Pogba, you're not staying, are you? Right, I'm putting the article out. You're gone. Maybe Pogba or Lingard said to United, well, I haven't made my mind up yet. My contract doesn't run out for another month. I haven't made my mind up yet. I might still stay. And maybe United have gone, are you going to sign that contract? No, well, we're not waiting. Goodbye. That probably isn't the truth, to be honest, but it's still ruthless to start doing something we haven't done for a very long time. And I want to see it happening with some other players very, very quickly. I'm quite pleased with what United are doing at the moment. And if the rumours are true that we are going to start moving quickly on transfers now, then, that's 2 weeks before I would have expected it to. Are you sick and tired of hearing new signings and arrivals always talking about the history of the club? Feels the club is still stuck in the past, says Tristan. And Ryan says, hi Mark, just making some pancakes and wanted to know what your favourite toppings are. On a pancake, Ryan, I quite like rolling a pancake up with Nutella and banana and a sprinkle of nuts on it. And actually, if I'm really feeling greedy, I'll put a scoop of ice cream through it as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind one of those. Make me one, definitely. Just going back to that previous comment, because there's quite a lot to go through. Going back to that previous comment there about United's history. Our history is what binds us, Whether it's 99, 08, Brian Robson, FA Cup wins, 68, Munich, these things are all what make Manchester United what Manchester United is. And our own personal relationship with Manchester United is so driven by history. The reason I support Manchester United is because of my grandfather, and he was absolutely in love with that team in the 50s that Sir Matt Busby built. And, that is why I support Manchester United today. So the history is very important to me. And I think players need to understand our history and know about our history because it's massive. But where I agree with you is that I was having this chat on TalkSport last night. I had people telling me that Conte was not the right manager for Manchester United. And I was like, why? And they were like, because he's style of football. And I said, well, Spurs this season have drawn less games than anybody in the top four. They've scored more goals than anybody apart from Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City. Son's just won the Golden Boot. Harry Kane wasn't far behind him. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that part of our history that, Solskjaer played rubbish football. Mourinho played rubbish football. It's a long time since we've played good football and been entertained. I think United should always have an identity, but I think United should also win trophies. And I think sometimes when we took Mourinho, I remember doing videos about it, and it was like, look, the football's not probably going to be that good, but he wins a title in the first 2 years, and that's what we need to do. We need to get back winning a title to get this club aware of how to win, because it's time is passing on. So I think it can be a bit of a problem sometimes when you get a Gary Neville coming out and saying Conte's not a Manchester United manager. Well, I sort of disagree on that, because we don't know what the future of this football club is. You don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. Clayton, welcome to the Members Club. And Stockton says, even with De Jong, our midfield is really weak. What's your opinion on the chances of a second midfielder coming into Stockton? Great question. I would love to see... Gary Neville said Simeone 4-4-2 was proper United football. Mate. That's the thing, isn't it, Nate? You had Paul Scholes and Roy Keane saying they'd take Simeone at United, and this is Simeone's the guy who gets excited if he has 40% possession. Can you imagine that at Old Trafford? Simeone would have been a bloody nightmare at Manchester United, yet, apparently he'd be a good Man United manager. So, but going back to the second midfielder option, there is positivity around that. There's a lot of people in the media, and there's information coming from the club that they're looking at two midfielders, and that has always been the case. I've got to be honest, I wouldn't park my bike on that. I wouldn't be so sure, because if we don't get De Jong, we're going for Neves. If we do get De Jong or we do get Neves, who's the second midfielder? Because we're not going for De Jong and Neves. Like, De Jong's going to cost you about 70 million quid by the looks of it. Neves would cost you between 40 and 50. We haven't got the money to spend 120 million or 110 million on two midfielders. So Neves is the backup to De Jong. And I think where some people are getting confused is that, like that story from Samuel Luckhurst this morning, we've had talks with David Carmo of Braga. Well, maybe we have. We're not buying Carmo, Torres and Timber. We are doing what United need to do. We are talking to more than one player for one position. We always, under Ed Woodward and Matt Judge, had this one deal at a time thing. And it was worse than that. It wasn't just one deal at a time. It was one negotiation at a time. So if they were in charge now, effectively the way United used to do deals was we'd be in talks with Timber, and if we got him, we'd move on to the midfielder. But if we were in talks with Timber and we decided we didn't want to do the deal, or it fell through, we'd then pick up at the phone and go into talks with Torres. So you see what I mean? It's a very slow way of doing business because you're only ever focused on one deal at the time. Already, and it's another reason to applaud United, we're doing it differently. We are in talks. We were in talks with players back in February. We were in talks with Akanji then. We're not anymore. So we are in talks with Timber and Ajax. We have held talks about other centre-backs. We are in talks with De Jong and Barcelona, but we are in talks with other midfielders as well, or we have held talks. So United are acting in a very different way now because we actually are looking at doing things at the same time. And look, there's a lot to be negative around Manchester United, especially in the last 9 years. But the way I've always worked is, it's a bit like, you know, at the start of the season, if Harry Maguire scores a couple of goals and plays brilliant, I'm not going to go, he's rubbish. Look at what he did last season. I'd go, you know, fair play. He's doing better. And I'll also do it with the club as well. It's very easy to be very critical about the club, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of reasons to be critical about the club. But sometimes they can't publicise the good they're doing, and we have to notice it. And we have always been, in recent years, a club in the transfer market who does one deal at a time. That's just what we've been doing, and that's why we're so slow. We're definitely not doing that. We are, you know, if you don't believe me, we're definitely talking to Barcelona and we're definitely talking to Ajax. So we're definitely doing at least two deals at the same time. Probably also in talks with Nunez and all the backups. So United are doing things all at the same time, whilst also working on exits and releasing stories about people leaving the club. So give them a bit of credit there, because they actually are doing multiple things at the same time for once, which is how a big club should be run. It's how other clubs run as well. Aidan, welcome to the Members Club. Michael Friedman's just gifted a Members Club membership as well. Thank you, Michael. I may have misunderstood the purpose of the Members Club. At what point will I receive a photo of your bowstring? Ridiculous. It's not that sort of show. Get yourself some Manscaped and then you can see your own. Yes, Sally. Why are we so slow and inefficient with our deals, says GE? Well, hopefully I've just explained to you there exactly what's going on. And I would give the club some praise on that, to be honest with you. But look, only a little bit of praise. Only a little bit of praise. Like, you know, realistically, there's a large part of me that just wants to get to August and then give them the praise. I'm not... Look, it's going to be a roller coaster. This summer is going to be a roller coaster. For the positives we've got today, we might not sign anybody for 3 weeks. Or we might have more positives tomorrow. I just don't know. I mean, we are... One thing I do know about United at the moment is there's a lot of people who are taking holidays around the club. Obviously, we've got people working there. It's also a bank holiday weekend in the UK, and there's also international breaks. So it's not a large... And also, the transfer window doesn't open till a week on Friday. So you could easily say we're not going to do any business until a week on Friday. But then you could also say we're going to put 2 or 3 bids in over the weekend. I would say that the De Jong deal is almost symbolic of Manchester United's whole summer. That De Jong deal is... Well, it is. It is. I've used the word correctly. It's symbolic of the transfer window. If we get De Jong, and we do it to get De Jong, we've got to act quickly and decisively. We've got to win the race, and we've got to get him for the right price, and we've got to make Barcelona do the deal. That is a big deal. When Manchester United are dealing with Barcelona, that's a big deal. This is two big clubs. You do that deal, and suddenly the club, the fans, and everybody is like, that's a big deal. That's a confidence. And what does confidence do? It breeds results. It's like football. So you get De Jong done, you've got your number one target for your manager, and he's a fantastic player. Right, let's get Timber done. Right, let's get this bloody Nunez in as well. And suddenly everything's like positive. You don't get that De Jong deal. And also remember, it's about time as well. It's also about time. If you spend time on De Jong like we are and you get him, that's a target ticked. If you spend this time on De Jong and you don't get him, no target, wasted time. You've got to still get that player. And that's why United need to be quick and decisive on these deals, because they can't afford to waste 2 or 3 weeks negotiating with Barcelona to not get him, because then you're back to square one and you've lost those 3 weeks. If you do get him, you've got one player, you can use that time to move on to somebody else. So I think that Frankie de Jong is quite symbolic of our summer, and I just think we've got to get to a point with that deal quickly, one way or another. Jeff, welcome to the members club. Andreas Pereira is now staying at United and will be in Ten Hag's plans, says Nick. Yeah, I don't see how, Nick. I don't think there's any justification for that. He needs to go. Chris, welcome to the members club, and also to Alex as well. Thank you very much for joining. We've got a new members video going up for you probably tomorrow or Friday, actually. What day is it? It's Wednesday, isn't it? Where do you see Man United at the end of the season? Says Bazia. I can't answer that. Where do you see United? I may as well get a crystal ball out and start playing with it. You know, I've got no idea where United will be in a year's time. At the start of this season, I thought we'd be comfortably top 4, and we finished 6th, and that was lucky. So I've got no idea else. I don't know who we're signing at the moment, so I can't predict anything other than to say we're in the Europa League, we should be looking to win it. Rangers and Eintracht Frankfurt played the final of the Europa League. We should be in the final of the Europa League. And I think we've got to fight to get into the top 4. That's what I would hope to do. So, but until we've done the transfer window, I don't know, because we know not to trust these players, and we need to know what transfer business we're going to do as well. Okay, so efficiency is key. Spoken about the left back, spoken about Kante. We need to move fast. We've spoken about De Jong, spoken about Pogba, spoken about Timber. I've spoken about Akitike as well, going to Newcastle. I suppose one player that's worth mentioning is Neves. Somebody asked me about this pretty much just before I went live, that they'd heard a story that United are going to put bids in for Neves and De Jong in the next few days. And I was like, well, we're not. We're not. And I've already mentioned that. We're not going to put a bid in for Neves and De Jong, because what if they both get accepted? Like, you can put a bid. You know, ultimately, you might be buying a car. You might want a car, and you might like 2 cars, and you might go to 2 different car dealers, and you might just go from one to the other in the same morning, and then you might go and put an offer in on that and an offer in that, and then you get a phone call and they go, both have been rejected, in which case you've got to make a decision, or you might get a phone call saying they've both been accepted, and you go, I don't want it anymore. So you can do that. United could put an offer in for Neves, and they could put an offer in for De Jong. But I tell you what, the world of football leaks like a sieve. Mendes is Neves, and De Jong, I don't know who that is, but I guarantee that they would know, in which case they're being played. So United will not put a bid in for Neves and De Jong at the same time, because that would get out there and it would make them look really stupid. We will put a bid in for De Jong, and if we don't get De Jong, we will probably move on to Neves or somebody else. So we're not about to put a bid in for Neves. I would be absolutely stunned if we bought Neves and De Jong. I just don't think we've got the budget to do that, and everything else we need to do, and I don't think that's the plan. I've got no idea who the second midfielder would be if we bought De Jong. Maybe we wouldn't get one. And I suppose that's a question in itself. Would you rather have De Jong and that's it, or would you rather not get De Jong and get maybe a Neves and a Lema or something like that? Interesting. Hi Mark, love the content. In my opinion, we don't need to buy a so-called CDM. We just need a defensive-minded midfielder. Finley, in my opinion, you're wrong. Alex, welcome to Members Club. In my opinion, you're wrong, Finley, because I think that you are looking at United of the last 6 years and you're looking at a position that we've needed for the last 6 years, but we've now got a manager that doesn't play like that. Welcome to Members Club, Gavin. So I think, Finley, you are absolutely correct. This time last year and the year before that and the year before that, we need a centre defensive midfielder. But that's because we were playing with a centre defensive midfielder who was holding. We're not going to play like that under Ten Hag. So we might not need that specialist CDM. What would I do? Would I rather have De Jong or would I rather go and get a Neves and a Lema? I think I'd rather have a De Jong, you know, because we have got Fred, we have got McTominay, we have got Garner and potentially Donny. And whilst I want that perfect midfield from day one, we're not winning the league next year and we're not in the Champions League next year. So a season with De Jong, trying him out with Fred, McTominay, Garner, Donny might not be a bad idea because I still think we'd be good enough to get top 4 and you know, you could figure out whether you need a second midfielder. But I do 100% think we need a midfielder. I think we need 2 midfielders, but I wouldn't pass up on De Jong if you can do that deal because, as I've said a few times now, if you've got Neves and Phillips and whoever else and Basuma down here, and you've got Declan Rice here, well, De Jong's here. So, of course, I'm going to take that. And there are other options out there. I mean, I don't think we're going to end up going for Basuma, but there are options out there. If we get De Jong, I think McTominay could work well as a box-to-box player, says Yemi. But you're not, again, Yemi, you're going to have to be learning this lesson like everybody else. You're talking. How's McTominay playing as a box-to-box player then? Because that's what De Jong does his best work in the opposition's half. So you've got some people saying we need to buy a CDM, and then you're saying if we get De Jong, I think McTominay will be a good box-to-box player. Who's going to be the defensive cover then? There is. De Jong is the best things De Jong do, recoveries and passing, is in the final half, is in the opposition's half. So you need to understand how we're going to play. And I believe that Ten Hag is going to play with 2 midfielders like that. I think a holding midfielder's down there, a box-to-box here, and your number 10's over here. That's how we've always played, like that. We're going to play like that. We're going to play with De Jong here and somebody next to him. And they're going to have to dictate the press and run the game themselves. And they'll have 2 centre-backs quite close to them with a high line. And that's what we'll do. I personally think if you bought De Jong, the best midfield 2 to play would be Fred to the left and De Jong to the right. I don't think McTominay is anywhere near good enough to play in a Ten Hag system. But he is well liked by a lot of people. So maybe he does it in training and Ten Hag can bring that out of him. In fairness to McTominay or any other player, they've not been developed for 3 years, so we've now got a manager who can develop people. Hi Mark, how highly do you rate De Jong, says Ash G. Look, I'll be absolutely honest, I don't watch La Liga, and I didn't watch the Europa League this year, so I'll be honest, I don't believe in lying about players. Like sometimes a player will get mentioned like that, was it Kone of Mönchengladbach and Enzo Fernandez of River Plate. Apart from a bit of research you can do over half an hour over the internet, I've never watched him play a game that I can remember. So I can't go, oh yeah, he's going to turn United around. I haven't watched De Jong play barely any football in the last year. But he's 25. I have seen De Jong play football over the last 5 years. And I know that De Jong's one of the best players in Europe. And I know what he does well. I haven't watched him firsthand for most of this season because I didn't watch the Europa League and I don't watch La Liga anymore. But I know what player he is. Most people know what player De Jong is. So how highly do I rate him? I think he's one of the best midfielders in Europe. I'd put him in the top 10 easy. So we haven't even got midfielders who are in the top 30 in the Premier League. So the upgrade with De Jong on what we've got is sort of like that's the ground and there's De Jong. It's massive. So yeah, I would very much like De Jong. And also I think with De Jong it is reminding me a bit of Fabregas, where I am very realistic that this might not happen, but at the moment we've not had that killer blow. What do you think of the Mason Mount rumours, says Victor? Absolute crap. Absolute nonsense. I've never heard such rubbish in all of my life. I have heard a lot worse. But we're not signing Mason Mount. We're not signing Mason Mount. It's absolute nonsense. We may as well get linked to Mo Salah. Like we're not signing Mason Mount. It's just absolute nonsense. It might, but you've got to also take on board that we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, we're living in a world now where a tweet goes out and suddenly it's happening. And I've followed Man United for a long time, and so have you. We've been doing United Stand for 7 years. But a lot longer than that, we learned this lesson. We're not in for every player a journalist links us to. Whether you like that journalist or not, whether you like that Twitter account or not, we are not in for every player that we get linked to. In fact, we're probably not in for over 70% of the players we get linked to. If you think about the last couple of weeks, we've had Kante, Mason Mount, Dybala. There's loads of players. We're not even in for them. So we can discuss it, but we mustn't fall into the trap that we're in for every player that we get linked to, because we're quite simply not. And these things will keep to happen. So discuss it, but also look at it in a reality sense. It's like that story we had about Ekatike a couple of days ago that we tweeted out. That was good information. I don't know whether it's true, because although you get it from a good source, United are in talks with Ekatike. What if that's coming from Reims, or it's coming from the agent who are trying to use our name to boost Newcastle's interest? Well, it probably bloody worked, hasn't it? Or, on the other hand, maybe we were in talks with him and we've missed out, or we've backed off. Truth is, the transfer window, and always has been like this, is that you can go for it. You can be in talks with a player because somebody says you are, and you can miss out. You can be in talks with a player because somebody says you are, because it suits them that they are. And what I mean by that is, we will be in talks with players we're not in talks for. Everybody knows United need attackers, midfielders and defenders. Basically, if I'm an agent and I'm looking to move my player on, I'm going to go, United have been in talks with us, you know. Because that's the United fan base, and the United media will pick up on it, and then suddenly your client has got a load of free news. If you run a bloody builder, if you're a builder, yeah, and suddenly your whole town is talking about your builders, you're going to get a few orders, aren't you? It's exactly the same. If I've got a player and nobody's really talking about him, and I go, you know, United are really interested. Oh, I've got what a scoop! United are in talks with this player. Suddenly that goes right the way through. It's been mentioned by me. It's been mentioned by outlets. It's been mentioned on the TV. And that agent or that club are like, this is amazing. Everyone's talking about my client. Oh, my phone's going. It's Newcastle. Yeah, 40 million. Yeah, I'm taking 10%. See you later. Bye. But that's how it works. That's how it's always worked. But in the modern world, you can make it work a lot better because of social media. In my opinion, our back four can't function without a DM. I don't think a hybrid of 2-8s would work, to be honest, as user. You need to go and watch and see how Ajax play, mate. I know that sounds blunt, but you can't look at Man United last season and say that's not going to work. We're not playing like last season anymore. The way Ranić and Oli played football is completely polar opposite to the way that Ten Hag plays football. So you can't say we're not going to work without a CDM, because we're not playing like last season anymore. We're going to play completely different. We're going to play a high line. We're going to play a high tempo. We're going to play high possession, or we're going to try to do it. So all this holding CDM and all this bullshit, it falls into the wayside. I completely agree with you. We can't play like Erik Ten Hag wants to play with Lindelof and Maguire, but this is why he wants Timber. We can't play how Ten Hag wants to play with McFred, but that's why he wants De Jong. We're going to revolutionise this football club, and that's why I'd fasten my seatbelt and not be impatient, because it's going to take time to take a team that was used to parking the bus and hitting on the brake and playing in moments to a team that's going to dominate the ball and try and make lots. I mean, it's complete opposite. Some of these players don't know what's going to hit them on July the 1st. In some ways, it might be better to put a transfer request in, because you're going from a team that didn't run around a lot, didn't have a lot of the ball, basically played very compact and deep and hit on the break. You're now going to be a team that's always on the ball, that's going to play a high line, that's going to create lots of chances and be very, very energetic. It's going to be complete opposites. So, and if if you think it's hard for yourself, it's going to be a lot harder for the players. If De Jong is a regista, then wouldn't we need another midfielder to take on more defensive duties in our own half, says Stephen. I think that you need to go and analyse the way Ajax play football. Because you're right, there has to be somebody who's a little bit more defensive minded. But if you look at the Ajax midfield 2 last season, in some ways they're very symmetrical. They both do the same thing. So I would stop being so obsessed about one of the midfielders being more attacking and one of them being more defensive, because that's pretty much the way we've been playing for the last 3 or 4 years. The way Ajax play football and the way Ten Hag plays football is not like that. That doesn't mean he won't do that or some sort of movement around that, but I don't think he will. What role would Bruno play in a Ten Hag system? Does he play a 10? Yes, Carl Welsh. I think we almost need to revisit the video about the way that they play, really, because I think people are getting lost. Mark, do you think we will sign Steven Bergwijn? Great name, Paul. Great name. We should be in for Lamus as the last frontier. Yeah, we should. But I just want to say, Paul, well done. Well done. Good remembering from Paul. I tell you what, if I had a star, if I had a sticky gold star, I'd stick it on you. Because that deserves a mention. May not be exciting, not necessarily exciting to me, but Steven Bergwijn is a player that Ten Hag really likes and is a player that Spurs are looking to move on. Not glamorous, not exciting, not expensive. It could easily be a signing that United look at. So it's not been mentioned for a while, but about 3 weeks ago he was mentioned a lot. So you might be on something there. If we get Timber, he knows Erik Ten Hag's gameplay. Only makes sense he goes for De Jong. Knows Erik Ten Hag gameplay. Also Donny already knows the Erik Ten Hag gameplay. The trend. Ibrahim, when you're trying to achieve something very, very quickly, as many players that you can get who know your system, the better. And this is exactly what Ten Hag has said to United. You can put forward Torres, and I like Torres, but I've never trained Torres, and he's never played in my system. I believe Timber's better, and he has played in my system, and I know he can do it from day one. You can mention to me Ruben Neves, and he looks a very good player, but he's never played in my system. De Jong has. So, of course, there is a speed element here. Even Ten Hag acknowledged that there is no time at big clubs. So he's got to have players that know his system, because it will help him a lot in the early days. And it helps him a lot to have people on the training ground who are on his side. Kay, I think the point most are saying is this lot at the core can't play the Ten Hag way until the second year at least, says Kay. You're not wrong, but I think these lot are a big letdown. I agree with that, Kay. And I think that fits in with everything. It's like, Timber's a centre-back, De Jong is a midfielder. They're two players in the spine. You sort your spine out first. It's going to be very interesting. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, look, I'm back in the morning at 10 o'clock. Obviously, we could have another big day tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if we get official bids going in the next day or so. But having said that, people are on international duty. Maybe it won't happen as quick as that. But the way today's gone, I'm very pleased with it. And I think the club need to act decisively, aggressively and ruthlessly for as many days as they can in June to set us up with a good July. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you check out Manscaped. You can hold your phone up and scan the QR code, or you can go through the link in the description. 20% off plus free shipping worldwide. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Really, really good products. And thanks for watching. Speak to you in a bit.